I'm going to give a little bit of insight to the exhaust back pressure issue on this blue truck, just so that everybody understands what's going on here. There's multiple issues here. Basically, whenever you turn the key on, there should be atmospheric pressure applied to the exhaust back pressure sensor, and that's it. So barometric pressure is reading 14.7. Exhaust back pressure gauge is supposed to read 0. Exhaust back pressure absolute should be reading 14.7. But on this particular truck, when I turned the key forward, exhaust back pressure gauge, I think, was reading somewhere like 30, and exhaust back pressure absolute, which includes barometric pressure, was reading like 44, 45. So it doesn't matter if there's a tuning issue. It doesn't matter if the guy drove the truck a week ago, a day ago, yesterday, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is that when you turn the key on, it should just basically be roughly atmospheric pressure inside the exhaust manifold on that truck. And that's what you should see for exhaust back pressure absolute, atmospheric pressure, barometric pressure, same thing. So when I turn the key forward and I see that that number's really high, one of the first things I do is I swap in a known good sensor. It's a very, very quick and easy way to just see if the problem is in the sensor, the tube, the wiring, whatever. So that's underneath the degas bottle. It's behind the intake, and it's kind of hard to see. So I go ahead and I do that, and I swap in the exhaust back pressure sensor that I know reads properly, and all of a sudden I get the correct reading. Great. Let's go ahead and put a new sensor on it, and then I'm going to check the tube out when I take the sensor off. Lo and behold, the sensor and the tube are clogged with soot. So let's go ahead and take the tube off. Let's go ahead and take the sensor off. The sensor gets chucked. I don't reuse it. And then while I take that tube off, I make the decision, let's go ahead and take the 5x4 fitting out of the exhaust manifold. That was a pain in the ass to do. I had to use a lot of heat, but I was able to get it off. No big deal. We always put a new one of those things in anytime we take the tube off, if we don't think that this fitting is going to break off in the manifold. And I was pretty confident I was going to get it out, and I did. So now we got everything new from the fitting, through the tube, through the actual sensor itself. Well, because I had all the stuff out of the way in order to do that job, I inspected the wiring. I went ahead and took the little plastic nose off the connector, and the plastic nose on the connector, couldn't really see anything wrong from there or behind it. Well, once I took it off, you could see that it actually had corrosion built up on the pin inside the plug. Well, let's go ahead and put a new pigtail on it. I put a new pigtail on it. I inspected the wires. Everything was good. So now everything from the pigtail down is good. I verified that we had 0 exhaust back pressure gauge and 14.7 exhaust back pressure absolute with the key on now that I fixed those concerns. So everything seems to be hunky-dory, right? Let's go ahead and start the truck. The tune on the truck is commanding 46 pounds of back pressure, and I know how they do it. I know the table that they did it in the tuning, and I know why they did it. It's kind of a pain in the ass though. Basically, it's trying to make the turbo as loud as possible at idle. So I pick up on this, and it's affecting how the exhaust back pressure is trying to work, so it's making it difficult to find out if it's actually working properly or not. So I am requesting to return the truck to stock so that I can just use stock parameters, because when I control the VGT, I can see back pressure opens and closes as it should. The problem is though, is that when you go to drive this truck around, anything below like 5, 6, 7% throttle input, exhaust back pressure is being commanded at 40 some pounds of back pressure. I don't like it. I don't like that whistle shit. I don't like having a lot of back pressure when you don't need it. It's not good for the truck. It's not good for the up pipes. It's not good for any of that shit. So I am requesting to return it to stock. So we have multiple issues with one particular item on this truck. The sensor in the tube was clogged. The pigtail needed to be replaced because of corrosion. There is a tune on the truck that is affecting how the truck runs and drives after it started. I verified and calibrated my gauge to get the thing to read properly, but now the tuner is actually telling it something beyond stock what to do. And I just generally, I don't like that, especially when I'm diagnosing the truck, because there can be all sorts of random things like done. That's also why I did not say that we need to do anything with the ICP sensor based on the numbers that I saw when I was doing my original diag. because the ICP can also be rescaled in the tune, and it can make it read funny, even though it should only be rescaled towards the top end of the spectrum. Long story short, I don't know what the tune is doing 100%. I haven't been able to open that file up, open that table up, see what they modified. I know what they did, I know what they can do, but that's why I like to go back to stock. I don't have to guess. I know where it needs to be, and then if everything's good in stock trim, we can put the tune back on, and then the tune can just do whatever the tune wants to do. I don't care. I need to make sure that the truck does what it's supposed to do when it's stock, and if it does, whatever bullshit tune's on it can go from there.